They say you can outrun a lot of things, your past, your mistakes, maybe even a couple of bad decisions if you're lucky. But I'll tell you straight, what happened to me in Silver Bluffs? That was a battle I never saw coming. And some days I wonder if the ground ever really stops shaking once someone's tried to steal the very land you stand on. I remember the first morning after I bought that old stone house. The air smelled like rain and wood smoke, and there was this hush in the pines that made you feel like the world was letting you breathe for the first time in years. 12 acres tucked at the edge of a town that wanted to be a country club but never quite made it past the brochure. That house was built in the 50s, stood its ground long before the so-called luxury homes of Silver Bluffs even existed. My driveway wound through the woods like a silver ribbon ending at a steel gate I bolted on myself just to let the world know I intended to stay. I left my old job behind for that kind of quiet. For years, I was a crime scene investigator. Yeah, the kind you see on TV, but with a lot more coffee and a lot less drama. I'd seen what people can do to each other when they think nobody's watching. And somewhere along the line, I realized I didn't want to watch anymore. I wanted peace. Just me, the trees, maybe the sound of rain on the roof at night. That was the plan. And for about 2 months it worked. Until the first sign showed up. Literally a glossy HOA flyer tucked under my gate like a warning from a polite dictator. Welcome to Silver Bluffs community. It read like it was a commandment from on high. Page after page of rules, paint colors for your mailbox, how tall your garbage bins should be, even the length of your holiday lights. 30 feet per resident, in case you wondered. I laughed so hard I nearly dropped the thing in the mud. None of it applied to me. My deed was clean, my property lines sharp. I didn't live in Silver Bluffs, I lived next to it. Or so I thought. A couple days later, I was out tightening a porch rail when I heard the distinct crunch of gravel, someone walking like they owned the place. That's when I met Karen Lomax. She had a haircut sharp enough to cut glass sunglasses that could double as shields, and that fake friendly smile you see on people who think the rules are made for everyone but them. She leaned on my gate like she was posing for a magazine cover. "You must be the new resident," she said, her voice all honey, her eyes all knives. "I'm Karen Lomax, president of the Silver Bluffs Homeowners Association." That was my first real taste of trouble. She wasn't here to welcome me, she was here to claim me. "Your property," I said, just to see how far she'd push it. She talked circles, claimed the house was historically part of Silver Bluffs, said they'd love to reinstate me in their HOA registry. All for the good of the community, of course. I told her flat out my title's clean, my records are straight, and I'm not interested. She just smiled wider, that predator's patience. "Sometimes records get messy," she said. "We can fix that for you." I said no. She said, "We'll see." And I knew right then some folks, they don't hear no as a wall, they hear it as a challenge. It got weird after that. Not loud, not at first, but weird, like the air was holding its breath. I kept myself busy repainting the porch, putting in lights, checking my camera feeds. But I started to notice things. Neighbors giving me odd looks at the post office mail arriving addressed to Karen H.O., pamphlets piling up like spam from a world I didn't belong to. One neighbor, Joe, a good guy, a doctor, asked if I was renting from Karen. I nearly spit out my coffee. She was telling anyone who'd listen that I was just watching her property till she finished some legal process. I laughed, but it didn't feel funny. That's when I knew it wasn't just nosiness, it was a campaign. Karen was rewriting reality one rumor at a time, and most folks were too polite to call her out. I called the county office just to be sure. Turns out someone had already tried to update my property records. Filed under a Northridge land survey with Karen Lomax as applicant. I had them flag it for fraud, but my hands were shaking when I hung up. You can stand your ground all you want, but when someone starts to play games with the law, you realize how thin the line between truth and fiction really is. It only escalated. I caught HOA landscapers on my lawn one afternoon trimming the grass, putting up big white private property Silver Bluffs HOA signs like they owned the place. I told them to leave, filmed the whole thing, ripped the signs out myself. The next morning I got a hand-delivered letter. No stamp, just arrogance. They were threatening fines, violations, demanding I rectify infractions. I called Karen. She was sweet as poison, telling me it was all for the community. I told her in words even she could understand to knock it off, or the law would get involved. That's when she started using the law against me. Deputies showed up at my door she'd called in, claimed I was dangerous, claimed I was squatting, claimed anything she could think of. I showed them my papers, my videos, my patients. They nodded, said they'd seen this before. And I knew then some battles are fought in daylight, but most are fought in paperwork. The pressure kept building. Notes in my mailbox, threats scrawled in big letters. Patrol cars rolling up my driveway on fake calls. I called my attorney Linda a bulldog in a suit, and she told me to keep documenting, keep cool, let the evidence pile up. And so I did. Photos, videos, letters, every bizarre encounter filed away in a folder marked Karen versus reality. But Karen, she wasn't done. She filed more fake paperwork trying to get her name onto my deed, even used a dead surveyor's signature bold enough to dig up the names of the dead just to steal a patch of ground. She went online posting about the drifter squatting on her land, stirring up the whole neighborhood. It was harassment, pure and simple, and Linda started pushing for real consequences. That's when I started digging too. Old habits die hard. I found her past lawsuits. Turns out this wasn't her first rodeo. She'd tried the same tricks before, tried to snatch land with fake claims, tried to bully her way into what didn't belong to her. I sent it all to Linda. She grinned, told me we finally had her. And then Karen snapped. It was a Saturday morning. I came back from town and found my gate wide open, a small crowd standing on my porch, Karen in the middle playing tour guide. She was showing strangers around like she was about to sell the place out from under me. I lost it, told everyone to leave, called 911, filmed the whole circus. When the deputies arrived, she ranted, raved, even tried to grab a deputy's radio. They cuffed her and hauled her off, screaming all the way. For a minute, I thought it was over. But people like Karen, they don't go quietly. She bailed out, filed a lawsuit against me, claimed I'd threatened her, squatted on her land, caused her distress. Linda just rolled her eyes and filed for damages, property fraud, trespassing, harassment, the works. Meanwhile, the whole Silver Bluffs board turned on her. Todd, a board member, told me half the HOA wanted her gone, and honestly, I couldn't blame them. Things kept spiraling. My security cameras caught someone spray painting threats on my fence. Turns out it was Karen's husband. The police filed more reports, the county started investigating, and the evidence kept stacking up. Digital records traced the fake filings back to Karen's Wi-Fi, her laptop, her fingerprints on every dirty trick. When we finally went to court, Karen tried to act like a misunderstood leader. But the judge wasn't buying it. Denied her claims, ordered an investigation into her filings, and for the first time I saw real panic in her eyes. The DA started looking at criminal charges. The HOA board stripped her of the presidency after one last unhinged meltdown, and eventually, after a chair got thrown and police were called, Karen was taken in for psychiatric evaluation. You'd think I'd feel triumphant. Truth is, I just felt tired. Months of stress of looking over my shoulder, waiting for the next crazy stunt. Todd brought over a bottle of bourbon one night, told me the county was auditing everything. Neighbors apologized, admitted they'd believed her lies. Linda called with good news. The county cleared my title, wiped out every fake record. She said I could sue for damages, but honestly, I'd had enough war for a lifetime. I told her, let her get help. That's all I want. But here's the thing, and maybe this is the lesson that hits you when you least expect it. Sometimes the worst thing isn't the enemy at your gate. It's the way a bad idea left unchallenged can turn decent people into bystanders, or worse, accomplices. I carved a sign for my old gate before I left. Sometimes the most dangerous thing in the world is an idea that no one bothers to question. Figured someone might need that reminder more than I did. I sold the house, moved it deeper into the woods, found the quiet I'd been chasing all along. No more HOA, no more Karen, just me and the sound of wind in the trees. Looking back, I don't blame the land. I don't even blame Karen, not entirely. But I'll never forget the feeling of having to prove you belong on your own ground, of fighting to hold on to the one thing nobody else should ever be able to take from you. So let me ask you, where's the line for you? What would you do if someone tried to rewrite your reality, your home, your name, your life? Have you ever had to stand up alone and draw that line in the dirt? Tell me your story. I'm listening.